last 10 years or so, Article 555 has seen a lot of action. And unfortunately, the main reason for that is that we're only just now starting to really understand a phenomenon known as electric shock drowning. And electric shock drowning basically is when a victim is in the water and they get shocked with electricity that's not enough current to stop their heart due to electrocution, but it is enough current to basically freeze their muscles, to contract their muscles, make them reach the maximum let go threshold, and ultimately our victims suffocate because as their arms and legs clench up, so does their diaphragm and the muscles required for the respiratory system to work. So as we've started to learn about electric shock drowning, we've had to really revisit the requirements for marinas, boat yards, piers, docks, and similar facilities. So Article 555, maybe 10 years ago, was pretty small. And it's really blown up to contain a lot of requirements, and rightfully so. Now, one of the things that they did in the 2020 code is they added a lot of definitions in Article 555, and they took some of the definitions and moved them to Article 100 and revised them as well. So the first one that we have is the definition for pier. Now, that's a structure that extends over the water and provides access to it. It can be supported on a fixed foundation or it can float. All right, so here we're looking at a pier, and we have fixed piers and floating piers, like we mentioned. Now, why do I need to know the difference between fixed and floating piers? Well, we use this to establish what we call the electrical datum plane. And the electrical datum plane is basically a horizontal line below which electrical connections are not allowed. Right, so for a fixed pier, we're going to say the surface of the pier plus a certain distance, that's the electrical datum plane. And for a floating pier, we're going to have to figure out how high the tide can get and then add some dimensions onto it to figure out the electrical datum plane for it. So we define pier, and then we define fixed pier and floating pier so that we can establish the electrical datum plane. So a fixed pier is a pier that's on a permanent and fixed foundation that permanently establishes the elevation of the deck. And really that's what's key, is the height of the deck is fixed. It's not a static number. It's not a dynamic number. It's a static number. It's fixed in place. So this is a fixed pier, and you can see that it's fixed in place to the support mechanisms. That pier does not move up and down. That's a fixed pier. Compare that to this pier here, which is a floating pier, a pier that floats on the water surface and rises and falls with water level changes. So the supporting structures are not physically connected, directly to the pier. It supports it, and it allows the pier to move up and down with the changing water elevation. So we're going to look at the height of the pier, and then we're going to go up a certain distance and establish the electrical datum plane. And there you have it. So pier, fixed pier, floating pier, all revised and relocated for the 2020 edition of the NEC. Be sure to like, follow, subscribe, and ring the bell.